Hey there, fellow marketers. Good to see you all here tonight. I know some of you are going to be watching this on the replay, so I just wanted to welcome you if you're watching it live, if you're watching it later. Just want to say hi and thank you. And if you want to have any questions, feel free to ask them anytime. Put it in the chat, and I will answer them as we go. The comments are always appreciated. Likes as well. But what I want to do today is this is part of the soft skills series because I want my students to learn some of the soft skills that we as universities sometimes fail at teaching our students to help them learn. So this time we're going to be talking about networking and how to better network, because I know right now life is pretty much all online and we're just talking to people via text or via email or via whatever, but you're still networking. You still got to have a way to talk to people, whether it's on Zoom or whether it's StreamYard or whether it's YouTube or whether it's in person. We do need to practice these things. And as we get more and more back to normal, and we're seeing people more and we're dealing with people more, and having networking skills is something that you really need to have. And so that's why I thought this would be a really good topic for our soft skills seminar. So for those of you who want to watch our branding seminar, we had a personal branding webinar we did as well that covered some stuff, which was some fun. Oh, shout out to a place I went to in Atlanta. The Vortex in Atlanta, fun place, great burgers. They have like those crazy burgers you like do competitions for. So good times. Henry Martinez, my friend, good to see you. I'm doing well, Henry. So if you have any tips as we go along, Henry, to help out my students and help out other people with networking, please do share them as we go. But I'm going to take a couple minutes just to give people some time to jump on, because I know students tend not to jump on right away. Sometimes it takes them a few days to jump on, but that's okay. We live in a world where you're not always able to talk to people at the same time. So sometimes networking isn't just live. Sometimes it's sending out an email to make a connection. Because I know for myself, I actually got a job in Portugal because I found people that went to the university I went to in the U.S., and by having that connection and using that network helped me get my job there. So there's all kinds of stuff you can be doing. Hey, Lori. Hey, Mark. Good to see you bringing up soft skills. Not everyone spends all day in and on a computer. You are exactly right, Lori. And that's what I want to do with this, because here's the thing. As we get more addicted to our phones, we get less used to talking with people. And the skill of networking gets lost. Because you think about it, we all have that friend that knows people, right? Like how the heck does Mike know everybody from all these different places? And that connecting people kind of stuff really is a superpower that some people have. So I want to give you some advice today in terms of what we can do for networking essentials. Okay. And so what I kind of do is, if you want, grab yourself a beverage, adult beverage or student beverage or whatever. Grab yourself a snack. We're going to try to make this. I'm going to try to do this, 30 minutes to an hour. We're going to go through there. If you got questions, shoot them up. I'll try to answer them as we go, and we can have some discussion. But I just want you all to have a chance to talk about these things. But I'm going to go through some of the basics of networking, how you network at events, how you develop a network, but also I want to talk about how you don't network. Because there's some things you do, and I see this in class all the time with students like, I don't make any friends. Well, yeah, when you hide in the corner all the time, you're not. If you got to sit in a certain spot, you'll get seen more. People will recognize you. So we're going to talk about all kinds of different stuff. And I think one thing that's really important when you're going to network or you're going to go to networking events, you got to think about who you're going to sit by. Because what happens? What happens when you go to an event, when you go someplace? You go sit by the people you know, right? And that's not how you're going to network and meet new people, because you're sitting with your friends. And you'll see as you work in an industry, you'll make friends in your industry. Like I have friends from Purdue. I've got friends from Georgia. I got friends from Mizzou. And so we go to events. I'm like, hey, George, what's up? Hey, Laura, what's up, Manu? You have these things, and you kind of sit with the same people. And so, yes, you make that people you already know network stronger because you get to know them more. But you got to make sure that you're trying to expand yourself. Because what ends up happening is, like when you sit by your friends in classes, you know what they did yesterday because you're with them, and you get kind of tired of the same stories again and again. That's why it's important. Sometimes you got to go out and find new people, and you want to find new people that you can help. Okay, because when you're looking at networking, it's not just gimme, 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 help me out. No, you have to think how you help other people out. Because that's how you build a network. Oh, Mark, he's trying to help us. Or Jocelyn, she's trying to help us. Or Sahil, he's trying to help us. Or Jamil, she's trying to help us. We're doing these things. And when people see you as someone that's trying to give instead of take, they're more likely to work with you. They're more likely to trust you. They're more likely to say, hey, you know what, you're helping me out. So I really want you to have it in your mind of how can I give? Because that's what's going to get your network to really kind of notice you. Because what you have to realize is networking is not just a collection. It's not just, oh, I have this person, I've got this and this and this. No. Networking is cultivating meaningful professional relationships that can be mutually beneficial. Now, you're helping them, and eventually they help you. Remember the old, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. These kind of things happen. Okay. And the thing is, you have to meet new people to move your business forward. It doesn't matter what business you're in. If you're in a nonprofit or whatever, you have to go out and meet new people to build your business. And sometimes when you're networking, it's not just about finding new clients. Sometimes it's about finding new information. Like I love going to conferences because I get to see other professors and see how they teach. What can I learn from them? How can I be a better professor? Oh, he does this, she does that. Okay, cool. And I learn from that. And that's also networking, okay? Because you're not just trying to make more money, you're trying to gain knowledge, you're trying to meet people. Yes, sometimes you're trying to make, connections for selling and stuff like that. But there's a lot of helping out there. I help you, you help me, I help your friend, you help my friend. There's all these things we can do. And the more information you have, the stronger you can network because then oh, my friend Lori, she's in LA, and my friend Henry, he's also in California. Maybe I could get them together and they could do business. Now, I'm not getting anything out of this, but by making that connection, that can help people grow. Okay. So something to really think about when you're out there. And I think one thing that people really forget about networking, you'll see this, people really think, oh, I did it all on my own. Look, you don't do anything on your own. You don't become the best in the world by yourself. Whoever you think is the best, whether you think the GOAT is LeBron or you think the GOAT is Jordan. Jordan had Dean Smith when he was in North Carolina. He had Scottie Pippen and Phil Jackson when he was in Chicago. LeBron had Anthony Davis when he was in the Lakers, and he had Kyrie when he was in Cleveland, and he had Dwayne Wade. They did it with a group of people. Their network helped them get there. And think about it. Batman, he needs his Robin, right? And what would Batman be without athlete? He'd be just some guy running around. And that's what you have to think about. For me to succeed, I need my network. Okay. And so you want to kind of think about these things. Now, when you're looking at meeting people, getting to know the right people is always important, but they can help you get to a certain place. Like, look, I want to know more about going to Los Angeles. I want to know more about going to California. I'm supposed to go there for a conference in October and September next year. So, hey, maybe my friend Henry who lives there, he could help me out. That could help me succeed, right? And so you can do these things. Hey, Claire, good to see you. Henry Martinez. So Henry had a question. Sorry, Henry, I disappeared there. Mark, in your opinion, does networking apply to talking to old coworkers and supervisors and trying to get a new job or even going back to an old company? Yes, it does. Because here's the thing is, if you talk to your parents or like old farts like me back in the day when I talked to my parents, it was always like, look, you're going to get that job, you're going to stay there forever, so don't mess it up. Well, in today's world, people are switching jobs so often that companies know that. And you'll see they'll welcome you back. I mean, let's go back to LeBron. Cleveland was like, come back, LeBron. They were burning the dude's jerseys. What was wrong with them? The dude brought the most excitement at Cleveland forever, and they burned his jerseys when he left. But when they came back, like, LeBron, yay! And you can see that, look, if you're not the one burning the bridges, you keep those things out there, you never know. You might come back. Like where I work now. I went to school here, and now I'm back. And I look at other places where I've taught before. Yes, I'd always like to go back because you keep those bonds there. You keep that network there. That's why, Henry, an email here to your old boss, or sometimes it's just like, hey, happy holidays, just reminiscing about my time working with you. I hope you're doing well. I still write back to the old schools that I worked at, just in case where I'm at now is like, you know what, Mark, you're getting a little too crazy for us. Get out of here. You have to have that network because no matter how good you are, you can be replaced. You can be fired. I mean, think about it. The best sports athletes, they get traded from teams, they don't get re-signed, they get released. These things happen. So they can always come back because you want to keep that network going. So yes, networking, Henry, does apply if you're keeping a connection with former bosses, former employees. I mean, one of my favorite jobs, I was a marketing and strategy consultant for a number of years in Lithuania. I got that job because one of my old students recommended me to the senior consultant there. They gave me a call. And when they talked to me, I thought they were asking for a reference for my student Bultrus. They're like, no, we want to hire you. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. So you never know how these networking things happen. Okay. Let's see. Henry, continue on with this. So, Mark, going back to that, an old staffing supervisor did not like me speaking to my old boss at a government job. She thought it was like conflict of interest, your thought. So that's one of those things, because as government jobs, since I'm a government, I work for a state university. There are certain things I can and can't do, and sometimes a certain amount of time. But the thing is, if it's friendship, you're fine. You can't control how other people feel. It could be, if you're a vendor trying to sell them, that can be a little iffy. But if it's just your friends staying in contact, there shouldn't be any problem there. So there's that. So if we start talking about some other things, if you look at kind of like the different types of networks that are out there, we all have different networks, right? You've got what we call the casual contact network. You meet these people at random events. I met them at the bar. I met them at a conference. I met them in class. You have this kind of casual passing by stuff. You do have people you meet from there. But the thing is, the people I meet at the bar, the people I randomly pass in the hallway, I see all the time. Like, I go walk my dog twice a day, and I see the same people all the time. There's a guy with a basset hound I say hi to. That's a casual contact. Is there any business stuff happening there? No. It's just a casual thing, But the thing is, you can also have what we call knowledge networks. And knowledge networks, what you end up doing here is, this is actually a professional association. So I go to the Marketing Management Association conference. I'll go to the American Marketing Association conference, and I'll go there specifically to create connections within my knowledge network about marketing professionals and marketing professors, so I can get to know more people. So you have that. And then sometimes you'll have what are called strong content networks. These are networks that are built specifically to get you to meet new people. So, if you've ever heard of a Rotary Club, they're all about bringing the business, the important people in a city together so they can learn more about other businesses and make business connections. Your Kiwanis Club. This could be, if you move to a new town, they have groups that are specifically made for welcoming new people to the community. They're set up to create those strong contacts, contacts. So something to think about. Yes, you have your online stuff like your Facebook networks and your Instagram networks. There's a lot of different things out there, but what we really have to think about is really networking is really about relationship creation, because relationships do matter. You do need to build a relationship based on trust to make an effective network. Because if people trust you, they're going to want to work with you. If they don't trust you, you have no network, okay? And so when you think about it, where does, and you're welcome, Henry, by the way, where do relationships come from? Let's think about it. Where do relationships come from? When you think about it, one is visibility, right? I mean, people need to know who you are and what you do. They got to see you. Oh, you work and you teach, right? I teach, and you teach marketing, yes, and you're at this university, yes. And so people can see that. And sometimes you do put things, look, I've won awards and stuff like that to show it visibly that I've done something. Yeah, you have to have that visibility out there. I mean, how many of you have had a friend who had a girlfriend in Canada or a boyfriend across the state? You're like, really? Where are they? Could they come visit? Oh, I just got off the phone with them. Oh, they're in a tunnel driving. Yeah, no, I got to see them. So visibility is one of those things that relationships matter. I mean, that's why long distance relationships are tough, because the visibility, you just don't see it, right? And then you look at what we call credibility. So they know who you are and what you do, but they also know you're good at what you do. And how do you build that credibility? Now, I can show you these teaching awards. I can show you the YouTube stuff. But what's going to take for me is to show you, look, let me teach you something. Let me help you learn in a fun way. That's going to get you to start believing in me and making it credible to you, right? And so you have that. But there's another thing you have to think about. is actually the profitability of a relationship. Are people getting something out of this, right? I mean, think about it. You have friends you see all the time, and I have buddies that I look. It's credible that they can show a good time, but I think the profitability. Am I having a good time, or am I getting in trouble? Right? And so people have to have a profitability from your relationship to really make that network strong. And the thing is when I say profitability, it could be they're making money, yes, but also could be like, are they getting information from you? Are they feeling like they're getting something from you? Like you're bringing something to the table? Because think about it. How many of you have friends when you have a party and you're like, Henry, you bring the vodka, and Lori, you bring the snacks, and Claire, you bring the napkins. But every time we have the party, Henry brings the vodka and Lori brings the snacks, but Claire never brings the napkins, never brings anything, never brings anything to the table. And so she starts to take away from us. And then we stop inviting her. That's one thing is you got to realize in any relationship, whether it's networking, whether it's a personal relationship, if you're only taking and not giving, that will destroy a relationship. Okay, so you really have to think about these things. And when you're starting to think about your network, you really have to think about who are you? I mean, think about it. I mean, if I don't know who I am, how can I network? I have to think about how I can help you. So how can I help you, people watching me on YouTube? Well, I can give you advice on marketing, social media. I can give you advice on being a YouTuber. I can give you advice on travel. So I know I have these things that I can offer people. And so you start to think about is when you start to know who you are, then you know what you can offer. Then you say, hey, here's how I can help you. Because the thing is you know what you can offer to people potentially in your network, people you could help, but they don't know what you can offer. So you need to know, how can I express myself? How can I express that I know what's there? Lori is very nice. She says, Mark, you show your marketing skills in every one of your travel YouTube videos and give to everyone else. Yes. So that's what I try to do. I try to give, and therefore I'm not asking for anything back. I mean, yeah, I'll take a like if you want to give me a like. That'd be fantastic. Or put an F in the chat for that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. But if you're doing that, you're showing the visibility. I'm out there. I'm making the videos. The credibility. Look, those topics are good, but the profitability is like, wait, that actually helped me. There you go. That's how you're helping out. Hey there, Mark Finley. Good evening. Good evening. So so we have to think about that. And so I think what comes down to when you start to look at who you are, you have to think about is what's your superpower? Yes, I know some of you can stick to walls and some of you can fly through the air, but some of us, our superpower is to talk to people, is to make connections. Because let's be honest, connecting people, talk to people, that can be a superpower. I mean, heck, people that can do regression analysis for me, you got a superpower because I don't remember how to do that anymore. You think about this, like a superpower is a relative thing. What are some things that you can help people with? And that's why it's important that you really develop your own elevator pitch of why you're awesome. Because no one else is going to tell people why you're awesome. You're going to need to tell them that. Because remember, there's only two people that ever say good things about you, you and your mom. And you can't take your mom to work. Because if you do, people are going to start talking about you. Okay, so there's something there. Now, another thing is when you start thinking about kind of networking, think about a plan. Okay, I need to build a network to help me find a job. I need to build a network to help me keep my business going, and that helps you get an idea of who you should be talking to, what you should be talking about, and that can help you out. So one here, Henry mentions, Mark, speaking even more about networking tips and tricks, I truly love that Nadine Socorro from Hey Nadine, she's a YouTuber from back in, she's been on forever, mentioned a feature your Walter's World channel. Yeah, so this is one of those things. If you have a network, like Nadine and I have spoke maybe 3 times in 10 years. Okay, and I'm sure she doesn't ever remember me, but she was a judge on a competition for travel I won in 2014, like old school time, right? And I'm sure, and we've chatted, 2 or 3, 4 times maybe. And she actually said, oh, this is a group that would, Walter's World is actually travel videos that actually can help people travel. You should watch them. Now, that's not helping her because some people are watching my videos instead of hers for their travel tips. But she knows that, hey, look, if you're traveling and you want help, these are some other channels you could go for. That's how you build trust. That's how you build people like, wow, You're helping me out, Nadine. Thank you. That was really nice of her. And I wrote her. She had it on her Snapchat, or not her Snapchat, on her Instagram stories and stuff. I shared that. I told her hi. We chatted again for the fourth time now. And so it was nice, right? And there's the things you're looking at in terms of making these networks. It's not about helping yourself. It's about helping others, right? Hey, Blaine, good to see you on here. So when we start talking about other parts of networking, one thing you really have to be honest with is yourself. Look, if you're BSing people in your network, people see that. Look, if I told you I'm drinking water right now, you're like, I don't think so, Mark. If I tell you, oh, I'm drinking something I got in Vermont, and we'll leave it at, no, not Vermont, West Virginia. You're like, oh, okay, what could that be? But yet, think about it. Your friends are honest with you, and your network, you have to be honest. That's why when you're saying what your superpower is, you don't say, oh, I could teach you how to speak, Japanese. I can't do that. I could teach you some Spanish and some Italian and some German, but not Japanese. And so that's why it's important to be honest, because that connection is built on trust, and truth builds trust. Lies destroy trust. Lies destroy your network. So you have to be careful with that, all right? And I think one of the things that can help you with making your network and building up your network is realizing your network isn't just a list of people. It's not, oh, look at all the people I know. No, it's look at all the people I helped, but here's all the other people I could help, and here's the people I know that could help them. There's a lot of other ways you've got to look at it instead of a me kind of thing. Networking is about you, and others. Okay. And for my students, I think it's really important when you think about networking, you think about starting before you even need to network. A lot of people think, oh, when I get to work, I'll start talking to people. No, like anywhere you go, you can be networking. You never know. I mean, like I'll talk about this later, but you're always networking. Like I meet people in the library, I meet people at the store that like to travel, and they're, I'll be at Barnes and Noble, and somebody's got a Europe book. I'm like, oh, where you go? Oh, here's some tips for you. I don't tell them to go look at my site. I say, oh, here, think about this and this. Like, oh, thanks. Like, hey, no problem. You never know when you're going to be doing those things. So if you're in a class, those students in the class that you're in, probably you're going to work with them again one day, whether it's in another class or maybe a job in the future. I have a number of students who bosses or other former students of mine, and like, oh, you went to Illinois? Yeah, I went to Illinois. Did you have Walters? I had Walters. That crazy old fart. You're like, yeah, what's he doing? You have these things. You never know when you're going to really bring together. I think this is a good one. Lori brings this up. What do you do with people who lie for a living and believe their own BS and everyone can see through it? Well, you can call them out. You can do that. But I know nowadays you're not supposed to call people out. But I think it's one of those times. What I'll do is the people tell me, oh, that's great. I'll take a glance at the other people, and I roll here, there. But you realize when you know they're lying, you're not going to work with them. And the thing is if you're not working with them, other people won't work with them either. And that's one thing is like when I have students that'll contact me and they're like, I can't get a hold of you. I'm like, well, you're writing me here. And I give you like 9 different social media feeds to follow me on and multiple emails. And we're online all the time and we do these live things. So I don't really believe you. When you see the BS, it really frustrates you. But you also know that person that lies for a living. I mean, I've worked in places where I knew people were lying to me, and so I adjusted to that. Like I used to teach in I actually did consulting in some countries, and I knew that no one would ever pay their last bill. So instead of saying half up front and half at the end, we would just double the price of the consulting things, and then we would have them pay half up front. So we had all our money already, knowing full well that they were not going to pay later. And because you know that, and you can kind of deal with it, you can plan for it. But one of the things is that's why it's really important when you're dealing with suppliers, you're doing people in your network, and you're in a job that maybe you're going to get promoted out of and leave otherwise. You keep track. Oh, when you talk to supplier X, know that they overinflate what they do. So then other people know, because you'll be surprised how much you forget. Sometimes you remember, like tonight, I was at dinner and one of my old students' page was the server. And she was an advertising student, and her boyfriend, I remember her boyfriend for some reason, and she came and started talking about, oh, your boyfriend's a fan, or her boyfriend's a fan, and he gave me stickers, and he loved it. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I got it. And so these things can help bring people together. But if I was like, yeah, oh yeah, I remember you, you're like, no, it's not going to work. So that's why truth, honesty, really, really helps. Yeah, Laurie Joe in the building is yeah. That was multiple years of having to. Unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way to do that. Lost a lot of money, but helped out in the end. Yeah. Multiple years. Oh, sorry, I just. Unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way to do. Did some other stuff there. All right. So next up, I think another thing's important. Whenever you go to a networking event or you're meeting people, look, you have to realize there's no losers out there. I mean, I've been to places. I mean, I'm not a tenured faculty member, but I've been to multiple conferences and multiple places at work where people are like, oh, you're a teaching professor, and they literally stop talking to me mid sentence. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also a teaching professor that's won all these teaching awards. Poets and Quants has me as one of the top 50, business professors in the world. So I think I know what I'm doing, right? And so I'm always of the opinion, no, everybody is worth something, because if you treat the janitor bad or you treat the AV people bad, guess what? Sometimes you need somebody to unlock that door to your office, and sometimes you need help with your computer. And if you're a jerk to them, they're not going to help you too quickly. So it's important to get to know more people and expand your network out. You don't just need to know the A-listers. You do need to know the B's, C's, and D's, because you know what? You need people from all different parts of life to help you out. So think about your network in terms of a breadth of network and a depth of network. Okay, getting to more and more people in certain areas, but having a wide range, because you never know. Like I have a friend of mine, like my that was a few years ago, my sump pump is making these weird sounds. I don't know. But my buddy Mick, he does construction. I'm like, hey Mick, I have no idea what the hell's going on. Can you help me out? Yeah. Came by, hooked me up, it was fine. So you never know. You never know, right? So Mark Finley, I had an old teacher tell me once, one, be a nice guy, and two, be a skilled professional, and those two things will take you far. Yes, he was very right, because if you're nice, people want to help you or they want to work with you. If you're a jerk, nobody wants to work with you unless they have to. So you can be a jerk and be a skilled professional. I'll take your bullshit because I need your help. But if you're a good person, you're a nice person and skilled, then people are always going to work with you because, oh, that's the nice plumber. I had the Roto-Rooter people out here, I don't know, about a year ago. It was COVID and everything. And I'm like, I don't know, can we call people to come to the house to fix stuff? I don't know what to do. And dude came out totally cool, totally nice, masked up, everything super professional. I'm like, wow, that was really nice. And you're totally skilled at what you did. So when we would have my parents come watch our kids, I'm like, hey, if there's anything, you can call the plumber, but I recommend you call our buddies at Roto-Rooter because they were so nice. And so you see that sometimes, hey, a lot of people are good plumbers, but a nice guy and a plumber, fantastic. So a little off topic, but it is very true. Now, when I say there's no losers out there and you need to know everybody, yes, you should do that, but you also still need to remember who the big whopper is in the room. Who's the big kahuna? Who's that important person you need to know? Like, who's the person that makes decisions on the purchasing? Who's the person that makes decisions on the awarding of contracts? Because you still need to talk to them, because you still have to know who those people are. And one thing I've seen over the years with my students, give presentations, and I try to have the companies come in and they do the presentations for. Students are scared to look at the client. I'm like, look, you got to look at the client. They are the most important person here. They're the ones going to read through your stuff. They're going to put your stuff that you recommended into action. You got to help. You got to think of them, and so that's why it's important to know who that person is. Who does matter most? Okay, and how can you help them? Because they can help you out. But what really comes down to, you just got to realize, is when you're networking, it's not about the selfie. It's about others. It's about helping others out there. Okay. Now, I think there's one thing I always enjoy is when you're thinking about networking, you got to think about being a good listener, right? And when I say being a good listener, I mean, what is a good focused listener anyway? I mean, have you ever gone out to dinner with someone and you're like, wow, they really listened. They heard me. They understood me. Well, yeah, because if you're in sales or you're in anything, listening to your customer and letting them talk saves you a lot of time. And good listening helps you understand and read between the lines, as they say, right? And so you want to make sure you can do that. And so that's why when you're going to be talking to people, it's kind of like you go back to the old poster they had in first grade, right, or second grade. There's a little kid sitting there at his desk or her desk, depending which poster you had, and their eyes are watching, their ears are listening, their lips are closed, their hands are still, and their feet are quiet. Yeah, all that are rules for good listening. Because think about it: if you're a good listener, you're looking at them. Because think about it: if I'm at a bar and I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to you like this, yeah, no, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. I'm not listening to you. I'm looking for somebody better to talk to. Are you going to want to do business with me? Of course not, right? And then your ears, yes, you want to listen, right? You want to make sure you're listening to people when you're there, because that's how you do it. You listen to them, what's important to them, what's there. And I'll tell you, I've worked with a number of companies over the year, and what they thought their problem was, and then after I really listened to what's going on, I was like, okay, this is what you think your problem is, but in reality, your problem is that. And therefore, it made it easier for me to sell my trainings to them or my services to them, because they're like, oh, I didn't realize that was a real problem. Yeah, but listening to them helped me know that, helped me figure these things out. So something to kind of think about, right? Now, other things we can talk about with this. Oh, we got some questions here. So I want to talk about networking at events later on, but Henry talks about VidCon, and I asked, was it easier to communicate with people at VidCon LA than VidCon London? Some people say Europeans are more reserved. Your thoughts? I'll be honest with you. At VidCon Europe, it was a lot easier to meet because it was a smaller setting. The rooms were more together, and it wasn't so much of a fan event, because VidCon LA is more of a fan event. You go there to meet your favorite YouTubers, and there's some other stuff for the creators as well. Whereas VidCon in Europe and London was much more, hey, this is to help you out. And then the last couple of days we have there's an extra place where you can go and meet fans if you want. And so it was like two different things. So I actually met a lot more people at VidCon Europe and made a lot of friends and did more stuff with them than I did there. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about in a bit, is how to decide what events to go to. Okay, so there's that. Now, Lori had a comment. I have found in years of various sales, customer service, and teaching, your reputation follows you and your customers. This is true. And this is when I talk to my students. I'm telling you, your network will always be there. You will switch jobs, but your network, your personal brand, that will always go with you. So make sure you realize that, because you destroy your brand in one spot, that is like a plague that follows you other places. Because with the internet and industries, how they work, you're gonna see the same people again and again. So something to think about. All right. Now, if I go back to the kind of eyes, ears, lips, hands, feet kind of stuff. So, like I said, you look at the people you're talking to. You actually listen to what you're saying, but also shut your mouth. Let them talk. You don't want to finish their conversation. This is one of the things I have students that will come and talk to me, and I'm trying to give them advice on something. They'll try to finish my sentence. I'm like, no, you're totally wrong. Like, yes. I'm like, and peanut butter, and they're like, Nutella. I'm like, no, peanut butter and jelly. Like, just let me finish. Let them finish. Just shut up. Just shut up and let them talk. That will make it a lot easier for you. Another thing is your hands, like your phone and stuff. Have that. Let me see. Am I on? No. So on your phone, what you want to do, turn it down. Whoop, 0, no volume, all that all the way down. Maybe even turn off the vibration, because what happens if you're talking to somebody, your phone starts going off? Are you going to answer that? Like, I can't talk to you because your phone's going off. Or it's vibrating in your pocket. You can't focus on people. So make sure your hands are free and you can focus on them. And another thing I talk about is your feet really say a lot. Because if someone, look, you look at body language for people, you know if they want to talk to you. If their feet are pointed towards you, that means they want to talk to you. If their feet are pointed someplace else, that's the direction they want to go. So you want to think about these things, because it does make a difference. And you can really kind of help yourself be a better networker by knowing your body and how to do things. And I know some people say, well, Mark, I'm shy, I'm bashful. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm pretty damn boring. Well, you know what? You can smarten yourself up. You can make yourself not bashful. You can make yourself not boring. And a lot of it comes through basically practice. Practice the talking points. Practice those things that are important to the people you're going to talk to, because you're going to know who's going to go to an event. You know what they're going to be looking for, so you can prepare beforehand. All right? And if there's things you can do to smarten yourself up, learn how to small talk. You want to read the trades. You want to read the newspaper. You want to, study up on the companies, the competition, what they're doing. So then when you have a chance to talk to them, it's like, oh, you've done research on it. Oh, you actually know about this industry. Right there, excuse me, when they're impressed by what you know, they're giving power to you. They're saying, wow, you actually know something. So you can use that to your advantage. And I know it's not always easy to know what to say to people. So sometimes you can have some questions to kind of break the ice at networking events, because you have to realize this, people love to hear themselves talk. Like, look at me. I'm just talk. And I just hear myself talk. I mean, I got 2,000 videos of me talking, right? And so you kind of think about it, it's like, well, how can I get other people to talk, but I can learn from them and they can say, hey, that was a really good date. That was a really good event. That was a really good dinner, because they really listened. Well, one question you can ask, hey, so you work for firm X. How did you end up working there? Well, if you're someone going for a job, that's an excellent question to ask, because you get to ask them, you get to let them talk, but also you get to understand why they're working there. What was their path? How do they get where they are? And you can see, oh, is that a path I want to do? They're like, oh, after 5 years of working 100 hours a week, ooh, maybe I don't want to be there, right? So there's that. And another question you could say is, hey, I just read about some important industry news. What do you think about it? Well, if you're writing about this, important industry news, isn't that showing that you've done your research, you know what's going on, and you want to know their opinion, so you value their opinion, so you're showing that you're like, hey, you're important to me, and then they get to share their perspective. So they got to be, oh, well, here's me knowing stuff. That's going to help you bond a bit more with people as well. And there's another similar question you can just ask. I'd love to hear your opinion on this latest project, your industry's latest project, something that's going on. You're just giving people a chance to talk, but you can learn a lot, because when you listen, you get to hear them talk about, is this really a big thing for the industry? Is this a place I really want to work? You can do those things. Okay. Now, one thing you have to realize about networking is nobody ever says, hey, can you help me? Or can I help you? It's always kind of like, oh, well, there's there. It's always beating around the bush. Look, if you can find a way to say, is there any way I can help you? That's why you're listening. You're like, oh, I hear that your company's having some trouble with social media. I do trainings for companies on social media to teach them how to use it correctly and how to boost sales and how to help this way. Like, oh, that is something I didn't think about. Yeah, we are having problems with that, because I listened to them. And they're not asking, can you help me? They're like, hey, here's some issues. And then you have to say, this is where I think I can help. So something to really kind of think about, okay, when you're looking at this stuff. And I think one thing's important, no matter how you network, or if it's personal or professional, if you make a connection, you need to strike when the iron is hot. If you get a lead for a job, if you get a lead for a sale, if you get a lead for an affiliate, whatever, you need to call right away. Because think about it. If someone says, oh, yeah, like, hey, Lori, you would do great with my brother. You should give him a call, and I'm like, I'll tell him you're going to call. And I tell my brother, hey, Lori's going to call you, because you guys would be great working together. And then Lori doesn't call for 2 or 3 weeks. When she finally calls, my brother's going to be like, who the hell are you? You got to be on there right away. Okay. It's kind of like you meet somebody at a bar. Oh, I'll give you a call tomorrow for brunch. You don't call them until 3 weeks later. You're like, who are you? Right? They're not going to answer your phone call. They're going to think you're going to offer them, like, are you calling about my car warranty? I mean, come on. So something to think about. Now, some other things to think about with your networking. One thing, realize networking isn't just about meeting people like you. I mean, that's the hardest thing, because when you go out, like, you see groups of people, everyone's kind of like, people go out with people similar to themselves. But with your network, you got to meet people that aren't like you. You meet people that are older than you. You meet people that are younger than you. You meet people that don't look like you. You have to make a point to do that. Because you know what? I need to meet mentors. I need to meet my students so I know how to do better, because you can learn stuff from everybody. That's why if your networking is in blinders, you're blind. You need to be open up so you can meet people from all different walks of life, okay? And I think what's nice is when you're meeting people outside your area, you're really diversifying your network with, and you're giving yourself this diverse background, whether it's industries or history or location. It helps you to know connectors that can help people out, right? And so, just something to kind of think about. And I think if you're going to be networking, one thing you should really do is really think about how to check myself before I get messed up. Like, look at yourself online. What does your LinkedIn profile say? What does your Instagram profile say? What does your YouTube profile say? What do you put out there? I've caught students of mine lying to my face. They're like, oh, I've been sick for the last month. I'm like, back when students actually used Facebook, I'm like, that's funny because on your Facebook profile, you just did a Route 66 trip with your boyfriend. Honestly, I'm like, come on. So you want to make sure you have that right profile to network online. This is one I think is really important. Lori brings this up. I think you need to give a video on recruiters who ghost job applicants and what it says about their industry and the business they represent. Yes. So this is something that my students actually go through, and I've actually talked to students about this. You will apply for a job, and of course, it's an entry-level position, but they want 10 years of industry experience with a PhD and bring in $4 million of clients already, but it's entry level and you get $3 an hour. Come on. And then they ghost you. It's total BS. And then the thing is, I'll see my students get really upset that but they never call me back. I didn't know what happened. I'm like, look, if they can't call you back to say you didn't get the job or send you an email, did you really want to work with a place like that? Someone that can't, be honest with you, because when are they going to fire you like in Office Space where they just stop sending the checks but you still come in for work because they're going to take your free work? I mean, that's one of the things that's just crap. So yeah, that's bad. Yeah, it's so true with Lori, so true. And that's why, I get this. Well, I'll get a lot of people that'll write me about doing sponsorships or oh, we want to help your channel. I'm like, oh, and I'll ask them a question that's poignant, like, are you a multi-channel network? Because I'm not going to work with you, or they don't reply back. Or, oh, could you give me more information than, hey, I'm Savannah, and I want to work with you. I'm like, hi, Savannah. Do you have a last name? Do you have a company you work for? Do you have some information that could be helpful for me? Because otherwise, I don't know who the hell you are, or why should I talk to you? These things you got to think about. That says a lot about it. Okay, so Henry agrees. Lori, for sure, great point. It's so true. Now, some other stuff you want to think about is you may say, well, I got 10,000 subscribers. I got, look, if they cannot be turned into a business thing, it doesn't matter if it's a business kind of networking kind of stuff. You have to think about how these things can help you out. All right. So I know right now we're all kind of just doing everything online. I know things are opening up around the country, around the world. And so networking opportunities, networking events, they're going to start popping up again. You're going to be someplace and having some drinks for a, pre-night. We have a pre-night in Chicago. Hey, my students get those all the time. Luckies. No one ever gets me drinks. Heck, not even my kids if I ask them. Anyway, but you think about it, before you go to an event, like Henry was asking about, VidCon in Europe versus VidCon in LA. And, you ask yourself, is it worth going to? Well, you got to ask yourself some questions. What are my needs? What do I want to get out of this event? So for me, okay, if I go to, for example, VidCon's a big YouTuber thing. They have training stuff, they have talks, they have panels at both of them, and they have a big event where people can go meet YouTubers and say hi. The one in LA is more flashy. It's more like, hey, we're YouTubers, we're here. Whereas I felt the one in London I went to was much more, you're here to learn how to do YouTube better. We're going to help you with this. If you want to help educate people about YouTube, we can do that. And it was, and also that one I got to speak at. VidCon Europe, I got to speak about branding, personal branding there. It's like, this is important. And it was much more of a business, down to business kind of thing. I will go to VidCon London every year, okay? If I can, I will go. VidCon LA, yeah, it's nice to go to, but to get the biggest bang for my buck? It's because, hey, my needs are to learn and to connect with people, and that gives me a better chance. So you have to look at these things, because networking events aren't free. It's not like you get to go to a trade fair for free. You got to pay for these things, and they can be in the thousands of dollars. And if you look into travel, it can be even more than that, right? And so you have to think about it. Is it worth it for me? And that's why these networking events, you have to have your own thing. What's going to make it worthwhile? Okay. So you got to think about that. And so you might look at the substance of the speakers or the seminars or the trainings or the talks that are there, and realize that not all speakers are the same. Like, this is one thing I get a little irked at when it comes to travel events. They kind of have the same people talk all the time, and they say the same thing all the time. I'm like, if I go to one event, it's like I've gone to all of them. Could we get some other talks? Could we get some other people talking? It's like, expand out there. Like I go to stuff. I went to one social media marketing world in San Diego, and like 2/3 the presentation I went to were people like telling their life story. I'm like, look, I'm not here for your life story. I'm paying a lot of money to learn more about social media marketing. And now I'm like, I'm never going to go back, because I'm not going to waste my money. Because like, I don't need to hear your sob story or your happy story, whatever, when all I want to know is, how do I make a YouTube video, or how do I make an Instagram post? You got to think about these things. So something to think about. Because really not all events are created equal. And what's cool is sometimes there's events you're going to, there's usually a guest list or who's going to be talking. And I've met a lot of, pretty famous people in different industries, because I saw they were coming, and I wrote them on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever, like, hey, I see you're coming. Big fan of your work. Would love to talk. And so when we actually were at the event, they saw me, I saw them, and we're like, oh, friends, yeah, you want to talk? Hey, Mark, hey, Chris, how you doing? And then the other people like, how do you know them? Like, well, because I saw they were coming. I just sent them a message. And you're already making that connection. So there's some things you can do to kind of make networking work better. So it's something to think about. And if it's going to be your first really big event, like networking event, I mean, what you should do is just give yourself a solid goal. Have a goal. I want to make 5 solid contacts. Don't just collect business cards. I want to meet 5 solid contacts for future business deals, right? For me, when I go to events, I'm like, look, I want to meet 5 people that I could do a collaboration video with, or that we could work together someday with. Boom. That's what I want to focus on. Okay. And when you go to these events, you want to dress the part. You want to make sure you're showing the right personal brand that's out there. That's why I'm doing networking, and the other live was the personal branding, because they really go together. Okay. So when you're there and you're going to be doing your first networking events, I think it's really important that you really have a good introduction. Like, know your elevator pitch. Practice introducing yourself. Mark Walters, damn glad to meet you. Hey, that's what you want. Great, do it. But think about it. How's your eye contact going to be? How are you going to hold yourself? What do you do with your hands? Like, I will see people that don't know what to do with their hands, and so they're like this. That's why your pockets can be your friends, or your belt loops can be your friends, or hold your hands together and like pray for a good networking event. Do something, because if you let your hands start going, and then you start having what we call verbal diarrhea, where you're just like blah 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 blah. You're like, shut up, I need to stop talking. Why am I not stop talking? It does happen. Okay. And I think one thing, a little tip that I always recommend, is take notes when people are talking. I've gone to a number of events. Well, I mean, I always have my notebooks. Actually, over there, you can't see it, but I have a stack of notebooks where I write my notes down for all my videos and my scripts and everything. And I take that with me and I write things down. And I might be like, I saw you writing down during my talk. What were you writing about? Because people, when people see you writing down what they were talking about, like, wow, my words had an impact on them. They wanted to remember them. And so they do that. So taking notes can really help you get to meet people. It sounds silly, but it's true. Now, some other things I would recommend for when you go into events is one, stay near the door. Look, if you're in the corner, no one's going to see you. No one's going to walk by you. And here's the thing. The events you go to have the same people or a lot of the similar people over and over again. So they will see you again and again and again. Place yourself in the first third of the room near the door. Why? Even if you don't say hi to people, you don't talk to them, they see you as they walk by. And after you see someone at 3 different events, even if you don't talk to them, you're like, you look familiar, dude. Yeah, you look familiar too. And you have that. So stay in a higher traffic, more visible area. Also, make eye contact with people, because eye contact's even more personal than conversation. So you want to be doing those things. Now, excuse me. One thing that will get people to love you when you do go to these events is make sure you step forward and introduce yourself. Because I guarantee no one remembers your freaking name. And no one remembers the name of the person they're actually talking to. So if you come in and say, hey, Mark Walters, nice to meet you. And then everyone else has to introduce themselves and make sure you're always saying your name. Mark Walters, nice to meet you. Mark Walters, nice to meet you. Mark Walters, nice to meet you. And you're having them repeat their names. And if they don't say their names, because I can't tell you how many times it's, hey, Mark Walters, nice to meet you. And they're like, hi. I'm like, and your name is? I mean, how many of you have seen someone that's talking to somebody? You come in, you're damn well know they do not know that person's name. Like, dude, man, buddy, bro, son, what's up? Like, you have no idea what the dude's name is. You come in like, hey, Mark Walters, nice to meet you. Oh, hey, I'm Mark Finley. Oh, Mark Finley, my name's Mark too. Yeah, and then other person's like, thank you. I had no idea. And you know that they know that you knew that they had no idea, so they owe you. So something to think about there, right? Let's see. Sorry, I see some comments here. Mark Finley, nothing makes me feel inferior faster than comparing my own channel videos to others. I feel like my videos would have been polished and nice if it was 2012. Hey, you know, Mark, that's the thing is you're learning from others and the network you're getting. I mean, think about how many people you've met that have helped you with your channel and you get to talk to in your lives. You've been on other channels that get to promote your channel and stuff. You know, escaping the empty nest. I mean, this is part of networking. Just knowing people, being a nice guy. Mark Finley, super nice guy, right? And so that helps out. And so don't think of the negative, think of the positive, right? As Laura says, no worries, Mark. Do not judge yourself by what you think others think of you. Your vids are great for getting up and getting them, be proud of them. That's right. And that's the same thing when you're networking. Be proud of what you do. Because that's the thing is you're going to network about your business, about what you do. You should be proud of what you do because it's your job. You know, so something to think about. Now, some other things I think is important when you're doing networking is the nonverbal side of things. You know, smiling and being positive goes a long way, dressing the part, but also thanking your network. If someone gives you a lead, tell them thank you. Send them a note. Send them, a candy bar, whatever. Let them know that you appreciate what they did for you because what you have to realize is you're going to be networking all the time. All the time, everywhere, like I said before, so always have that pitch ready to go. But the thing is, what you have to realize with networking, it's very much a personal thing. And it's all about trustworthiness. And so if you're making references, you got to be trustworthy with your references. It's kind of like the one where people are like, oh, can you get my cousin a job? I'm like, well, I don't know. Why didn't you give your cousin a job? Oh, because my cousin sucks. Well, why the hell would I give your cousin a job in my company if he sucks? Right? And so you have to think about that because your network credibility is only as good as your last referral. I mean, think about it. If a friend of yours introduced you to the worst boyfriend or girlfriend you ever had, will you ever let them hook you up with somebody again? Hell no. Same thing in business. You gave me a bad deal. I'm never working with you again. All right. So think about it. Just kind of think about these things. And that's why it's important to treat everybody great and be honest with them. Okay. Now, our last topic I want to talk about is kind of some no-nos for networking events. One thing I would say is don't just hang out with your friends. I know you go to these events. It's like when I see my students, they always sit with the same people every day, every class for all 16 weeks. I'm like, you can meet other people. And actually, and when I teach this in my classes, I actually like count like to 10 and like divide the students up. And so they have to meet new people. And like usually they're seniors. So I'm like, you're seniors in marketing and you've had all these classes together for 4 years and you have no idea what their names are. I mean, this is how you got to meet people. You got to make sure you don't just hang out with your buddies. You got to go talk to people. And I think what's important when you're looking at the people to talk to is really don't just go for quantity, go for quality. Sometimes it's better, you know what? I'd rather have 2, I would do anything for friends than 1,000 friends that are just acquaintances. So it's one of those things you got to think about for your business. Now, another no-no I would say is you don't just want to go to network, go with a purpose, whether it is to make 5, I want to meet 5 people I can do business with, or I want to get 2 numbers of senior vice presidents. Have something that's there. Okay. And the thing is when you do this networking events, you're going to meet powerful people, big people, important people, possibly your next boss or someone like that. You're like, oh, wow. don't freak out. They're just normal people. And if you can be a normal person and talk to them networking, it's like, hey, that was a cool person. I want to work with them. They might want to work with you. So something to think about. Now, some other things not to do. You don't want to be a user when you're networking. I mean, nobody wants that friend that is always asking for money and never giving money out or never bring anything to the party. Make sure you're bringing some to the party. Make sure you're helping people out, right? In some way, shape, or form. Because, yeah, people might help you out a bit. And then after a while, they're like, all you do is take. You also have to give. Okay, so think about that. And, I told you about not, make sure you're standing by the door or near the front. I mean, you don't want to stand in no man's land when you go to a networking events. Like the corner, back tables, backside stuff, you're not going to have the traffic to see people and meet people. You're kind of like stuck over there. You're like, dang it, I can't talk to anybody behind me over here. There's only the whole room's over there. So you have to think about your placement as well. All right. Now, another thing is when you go to networking events, don't just talk. You need to listen. I think I've talked about that enough. And what I would recommend is you really kind of stay away from the jargon when you're networking because, one, everybody's probably in the same industry. So if you're just using jargon after jargon after jargon, they know you don't know what you're talking about. Like, yeah, shut up the jargon. Like, so I had a phone call with Facebook today. And the Facebook person is trying to talk to me about social media marketing and video marketing and stuff. I'm like, really? Tell me more. And they're like, just using all the jargon possible. I'm like, you mean you're just going to try to get me more views? They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, yeah, use 19 words to say you're going to get more views. You got to be careful with that. Okay. So get to the point. Don't waste people's times. All right. Another thing that's important is don't just jump into a conversation. If there's a ring of people talking, you don't just walk in like, yeah, what are we talking about here? No, it's always like, that's the drunk idiot. Come into the conversation, be around there, and then listen, get a feel for it. And then when it's a good time that feels right, then you can interject. Then you can talk. Another thing that I learned in the South is you don't say nice to meet you. You say nice to see you. Why? Because you know what? If you're at an industry event, you probably met that person before, even in passing. So saying nice to see you can be nice to see you for the first time or nice to see you for the 400th time. So just a little something to talk about, okay? Something to think about. Another thing I would say is your network, you don't want to spam them. Anytime you're writing your network, ask yourself, would I want to get this? Because if you wouldn't want to get this, they wouldn't either. All right? So just make sure you do that. And I think the last little do not thing I want to say is do not ever ask for something from someone you just met. I mean, think about it. If someone asks you for $5, you're like, I don't know you. Well, now they're asking, hey, can you help me, a $5 million sale? I don't know you. But if somebody my buddy asks, hey, Mark, you spot me $5? Oh, yeah, sure, Mike, no problem. You need to have these relationships before you start asking for favors because you got to start having some trust. Otherwise, it won't go as well. Okay, so what I'd love for you to do is really kind of think about how you can make a strong network, how you can bring things to the table, how you can help people out, because it really can make a big difference. Okay? So realize that networking is a fact of life. You're going to have to cultivate relationships, not just business cards. Okay? And so kind of think about how you can help other people out. Because when you go to networking events, it's almost like potpourri. It's like, hey, there's all kinds of stuff that can kind of happen when you're there. All right. So I do wish you good luck on your networking adventures that are out there. If you have other questions, you can send your questions now. We can talk about any kind of business stuff you'd like, whether it's about networking or business or YouTube or questions or whatever. I'm open now to hear you and listen to you and answer anything I can. So I know there's a delay between what I'm saying and what you're hearing. So I'll give some time for people to ask some other questions. So please do. But I hope this helps you know a bit more about networking and how you can network better. I know not a lot of my students were on here live, but I hope you can watch it on the replay and get something out of it because this is stuff that I wish I would have known when I was coming out of school because it makes your life a lot easier down the road. So. Okay, so Henry Martinez writes, Professor Walters, have you ever had the opportunity to go to San Diego Comic-Con? If not, would you ever want to go? I'm sure your boys would love it. A lot of great cosplay there. I would totally go. I'm a big superhero fan. I used to read comic books when I was a kid. Actually, if you look down here, there's some long boxes down there from back in the day. So I would totally go. Holla H and be there when everyone goes crazy would be really, really cool. I'd love to do that. Other questions? Mark Finley, do you have any questions about your YouTube channel or Lori or any of the other people out there? Want to give about another 30 seconds, minute for other questions, and then we'll sign off for the evening. No? Nothing? Well, I appreciate you all being on here and watching, and I hope you learned a little bit. This soft skills seminar series, I'm going to be putting these out a couple every semester where we do lives. And for those on campus, hopefully in the fall, these will be back to being live events with pizza and all the fun stuff that gets students to come, because just free educational stuff doesn't always work for students, but free food does. I've learned that over the years. Oh, Henry, I'm glad this was so much fun, Mark. Great information. I hope you can do another one soon. Yeah, so Henry, I'm thinking about I'm doing a lot of different topics. I did one on personal branding um, about a month ago, and then I've done this one, and I'm kind of looking at different topics we could do. Because I thought about doing one for like social media for students. So they're I've got ideas, but this is more like longer term ones, longer chat kind of things, longer presentations. So hopefully I get more of these out. So if you're watching this, you have ideas for other, webinars and training series and stuff or talks, let me know so I can just hop on. We can talk about different stuff. So we can just have a normal, important like topic up there and we can just discuss it. So Mark Finley did have a good question. Lori points out, I'm going to go to Mark's question here in a sec, but Lori points out, thanks, Mark. I think so many of these skills have been lost in the last 10 to 15 years as tech has taken over. It has. I mean, I have students that would rather, they're like, they don't want to, I force them to actually call clients. They're like, can I just text them? I'm like, no, you have to call them because you need that experience. Because even now, that phone call, the impact of it, the scariness of answering the phone and talking to people makes a connection with people. So it is really important. So Mark Finley writes, how important is regular uploads? For YouTube, it's very important. Honestly, if you just have one day in time that if you can't put out a video every week, it's fine. If you can put out a video every other week and just like the first and third Tuesdays of every month at the same time you're putting that video out, YouTube sees that your audience is watching a escaping the empty nest video every, the first and third week. They will put that out. They're like, oh, they like watch this the first week of the month. And so they're more likely to put your video out then. Not all of it will get pushed out to people, but they do see that. Like I look at my numbers and we've been doing Wednesday and Saturday videos every Wednesday and Saturday since 2014. That's 7 years straight of at least 2 videos a week. And so people know, and YouTube knows, they put it out. So that Saturday and Wednesday, they know those videos are going to be pushed out to people. But you don't want to just put out videos so you put out videos, because if you put out crap, no one's going to watch it. You want to have good videos. So if you can only put out one a month, then you put out one a month. But one a week, then put out one a week. One every other week, you do that. But it's better to have it like kind of consistent when you're there. So Lori says, phone call speaking to a real person, no bots for me. Yeah. And that's the thing is, there was a comment before Lori was talking about how recruiters will ghost people they're talking to and recruiting. That tells you a lot. Also tells you a lot if a company only has bots talking to you or bots answer your question on their website. Because I could get that from my website for like $5 a month. You're like, wow, I'm worth $5. Thanks. I'm going to buy a $10,000 set of tickets for my group, and you're giving me a bot. So there's things that companies need to realize, that you can really destroy a lot of goodwill just because you're trying to save a buck. Saving $1,000 on your tech stuff, but it costs you $100,000 in sales is not worth it. But the thing is, that's where you have the accounting side, the marketing side, and this kind of stuff. There's different perspectives of what's important, and there's never a perfect answer. There's always a discussion of what should we do. So something to think about. Other questions? Hey, if you haven't done it yet, please click the like button. I appreciate it. It helps to know if you all like these kind of videos. Yeah. So other questions. So Henry Martinez, right? Would you ever want to make a video here on this channel on how you create out of your travel videos? So I have thought about that, and I'm sure I'll do a basic how to upload a video. I mean, because sometimes it's like with the travel channel, Henry, is I don't have a lot of the really basic stuff because I'm like, oh, that's so basic. That would be boring for the audience. But there's people that need to know the basics. And so, like how to create and edit a travel video or any video, yeah, that is something I've looked at doing. I just haven't had time because we've got 4 channels we have now. You got Walter's World, Professor Walters, Simply Jocelyn, and Destination Location, plus all the Facebook channels that go along with it, and the Instagram that goes along with it, and then the day job, and it just gets to be a lot. But those would be things I would do eventually. I think if all of a sudden we don't even get to travel in the U.S. again. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. The past year, we've only got to travel in the U.S., so you've noticed we have a lot more U.S. videos coming out. And actually, I think in May and June, we're only going to do U.S. videos to get people ready for traveling in the summer in the U.S. So that's something we're really going to go for. But yeah, that would be one of those things we would talk about. So Mark Finley, thanks, Mark. Content is a little lacking right now, so I'm going to shoot for every other week for a month or two. Yeah, I would do every other month. Honestly, Mark, because I know you went to Hawaii and you have stuff from there, and you've got all the stuff around Dallas you can do. But what I would do is write out maybe 20 to 30 videos you can make. Because let's just go every other week. 20 or 30 videos, that's a year of content. So you have an idea of things you could be making. And I know you're going to be traveling and going to New York and hopefully Europe. I'll be going there one day. But what you should do is then kind of have an idea. Okay, this is what I'm going to have. Because you don't want to have 30 videos come out in 30 days. Like a lot of people are doing this vlog every day in April. Why? Like, are you making crappy content, or are you making content that people want to watch and it's going to drive more? Like, you have a channel. I mean, my friend Mark has about, 4 videos, 5 videos, right? And so, to get more content, it's important. But as you go along, it's better to have 1 really good video than 5 crappy videos, And so that's something we really have to kind of think about. Let's see. Lori, I would like a video on body language and personality types, reading a personality. That is one of the things I do have on my future video list. I have about 250 videos in my future video list for Professor Walters. So one of my eventual plans is this wall. Sorry if you can see that wall over there. Will eventually my office wall will be green, and it'll be a green screen, so I can just sit here and film, and all this will have the sound sucking kind of things, so I can basically just stand there and go through a bunch of stuff. Because one of the hardest things I have making videos is finding a place to talk, whether it's wind or background or whatever. So if I could have it just use green screen for Professor Walters, I would not do it for Walters World because that's not how that brand is. It's always on location. But this one, that's one of those things I'd like to do. Lori, Mark, 250 videos to come. Yes, I actually, for Professor Walters, I was in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia. I think I filmed 15 new business videos, and I have a stack of scripts this high to film. So we're there. If you look on we had a poll today on Professor Walters on our YouTube channel when you want the videos, because I'm going to have a new business video starting in May every week for the rest of the year. And my thing is can I make enough content the rest of the year, and can I make enough content to do 2 days the rest of the year? So we're trying to figure those things out. Oh, Martha is going to Denver. Very nice. Oh, Colette, I didn't see your question. Sorry, Colette. Thanks for all the great advice and insight. Any advice for a brand new entrepreneur to get their first paying client? I've done pro bono work before. Okay, so the people that you've done the pro bono work, this is one of the times you might want to circle back to them. It's like, okay, I've done the work for you. Now we need to do an evaluation, how you did, and what are some more stuff we can do? Because you liked what they did for free. Now it's time to pay for this kind of things. And the thing is I want to tell you right now, Colette, people are always going to want stuff for free, and especially if you go to them for free the first time, like, well, it was free last time. Why couldn't it be free this time? I always go back to the Burger King 99-cent Whopper deal. Like when I was a college student, it was a 99-cent Whopper. That was their deal. And I remember the 99-cent Whopper. I went to school here, and then I left for 15 years, and I came back, and it was $5 for a Whopper. I'm like, wait, I thought Whoppers were 99 cents. They had trained us that it's worth 99 cents. They trained us to be free. So we got to be careful when we give out the free stuff. You want to make sure you're holding some things back. Like when I work with clients, they'll say, okay, we like I did a big training series for a government, and I'm like, well, here's the three different things. Here's the prices for the things. They're like, well, we only want to spend this much. I'm like, well, spend this much, you can pick 6 topics from this set. And like, well, we want these. I'm like, no. That costs more. And they're like, oh, okay. So, they went for the cheap option. And then I made the series for them, and they're very nice. Like, oh, but the people that hire me, the people who make decisions were different. So they're like, well, we would like you to talk about this, this. I'm like, no, because you did not pick that. If you want that, that's a whole other project. And it's tough, especially when you're a new entrepreneur. You're just trying to get people to know you and get your word out there. And sometimes you do it for free. Like I charged a lot less for my earlier clients because I'm like, look, I just want to get more paying clients out there. More people know about me. So you give that kind of discount. And now I'm like, okay, now I gotta go back what it really costs. And when you're doing the pro bono stuff, you've done it like, look, it was free. You like it. Now it's time to pay. And people know you don't do stuff for free. So there is that. Bye, Abby. I guess you're already gone now, so I missed you. Quinn, good to see you. Quinn, don't worry. The live stream will be available to watch afterwards. After I finish, so you'll be okay. I'm leaving this one public, so anybody can watch it. So you're totally fine. Kyle Tucker, do you have any advice on how to build a network in a field where you don't know anybody yet? Okay, so Kyle, one thing I would start doing is doing a lot of research on that industry, okay, or that field. For example, like I don't know anything about I know nothing about photography, right? I mean, I have cameras, I film, I take pictures. I mean, most of the time I'm using my phone actually, but I can start researching cameras. I can research what people are talking about. I can research who the important people. I can follow them on social media. And what I'd recommend you doing is if you're in these organizations, you start answering and like get to know more stuff. You can answer people's questions. You're not putting people down. You're not saying, oh, I'm an expert, check out my website. You're just answering as Kyle Tucker tells you the Sony Alpha series is great for vloggers, and this is why. And eventually people start to notice your name again and again. It's like when you're networking and you're going to these events again and again, people notice you. They see you like, oh, hey, you know stuff. Like I'm a non-tenured track faculty member. I don't want to be I'm a teaching professor. I make all these YouTube videos for marketing, for YouTube and all this kind of stuff. And I go to conferences that are for big time professors, but I go there. People know me, like, oh, I use your videos in my class. I don't know them. They don't know me, but they use my stuff. And that's give me a way in to get to know them. And so I always ask professors, what are topics you need in your class? And so I make content that helps them out. So the thing is, though, I do that so I can know more about their industry and what they need, and I can give that to them, right? And so I'm helping them. And therefore, by me helping them, they're looking good at me, and so it makes me look better. We have a relationship. So by knowing a lot about that field, when you do get the chance to talk to people, you really are showing off that you're not just like, talking out your butt. You actually know what you're talking about. And that's what gets people to change. And I think this is one of the things where when I talk to students, I'm like, you don't understand. People will listen to people who are really know what they're talking about. That's why you'll see in the movies, oh, why do they have this young person being the boss? Because they know what they're doing. It's like, look, I'm going to listen to LeBron about basketball because he knows what he's doing. I'm going to listen to Kyrie because Kyrie knows what he's doing when it comes to basketball, right? And so you think about that. That's going to really help out. Lori, thanks, Mark. It was reaffirmed to hear you speaking of business. I've got to take care. All right. Bye, Lori. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Colette. I'm glad I could help out. Hey Henry, cool. Enjoy the rest of your evening, Mark. I'm looking forward to the next stream on Walter's World, even on Simply Jocelyn channel. We'll have some more, Henry. Don't you worry, buddy. Thanks for being on. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions? I might have missed some. So please do send your questions because I always like having more questions. Hey Kyle, glad I could answer. Thanks, buddy. So yeah, let's see. We've been on hour and 14 minutes. I don't know if do you all see the hour and 14-minute thing up here? Let me know. All right, let's see. Quinn has a question. Are there any individuals on a very large scale that you admire in a sense of networking or the delivery of content? Personally, Gary Vee is one of my favorite to listen to. Yeah, Gary Vee does a really good job. There's a guy called Nick Nimmin who does like YouTube help videos. He is let the tunes flow. Don't worry, let the tunes flow. The replay will be available. We're doing the Q&A now. So you got some questions about networking or business or YouTube, feel free to shoot them out. But Quinn, Nick, I started following Nick when he had like 50,000 subscribers. I'm like, man, you're really helping people and you got really good stuff. And he never talks down to people. Because what usually happens, you have friends that make it and they like, oh, I'm so great. I know so much. Like you silly little people. He never really talked that way. And I really appreciated that. So I always listen to his stuff. Gary Vee does a good job of bringing things to people. And that's one thing I'm hoping one day that with Professor Walters, we can do that too. That's why, like right now, a lot of my YouTube stuff for Professor Walters is for my classes, to help my classes out. But honestly, I only have maybe like 20 videos left of content from classes I teach. And then it's all right, let's focus on making content for things people want. Like Lori earlier was asking, how do you read body language? What are signs in body language? This is important when you're in sales or stuff like that. Because anybody that's worked retail, when people walk in that store, you're like, they're not buying shit, right? You're like, they ain't buying nothing. You know that already. So I got to think about it. You can watch it later. Let's the tune flow. Don't worry about it. Check out Phil Van Dusen. I'll check him out. Yeah, talking down is a surefire way not to get people to listen to you. That's true. And that's the thing that's what always blows my mind when people talk. I get people talk down to me all the time. Like all the time. I'm like, why? I'm like, did I do something to you? Because here's the thing and this is one thing I don't understand when professors talk down to students or something like that. I'm like, look, we all pay taxes. We all are members of society. I've learned so much from my students over the years that I hate online teaching because I don't get to be with my students, so I don't get to learn from them. And so that's why it's like, look, you can learn something from anybody and everybody. I've made so many good friends from my students over the years because you got to be open. With networking, it's not just people that look like you or talk like you, it's other people. You want to make sure you expand it out there. Yeah, let the tunes flow. Ingratiate yourself to new and old people, that's for sure. And new and old can be young and old, or people you already know and people you need to meet in the future, because you never know. Unless you're married now, you might not have met that special someone yet. They're out there. And you got to make sure you can ingratiate yourself with them so they want to talk to you that second date. Because the second date goes a third date might be a fourth date might be a ring on it. I don't know how kids do it these days. Y'all are crazy. I've been married too long. I don't remember any of these days. I just know my wife knows everything. She's the best ever, and she's awesome. And anybody disagree with me, you're wrong. So, any other questions, comments, concerns, chit chats? If not, I'm going to wait a couple more minutes till 9:20 my time, and we'll go from there. But I do appreciate y'all being on here. I know it's a random Wednesday night, and I appreciate y'all being on here. So Quinn says, thanks for that. Personally, I believe that your Professor Walters brand will meet the expectations you set for it. I've started watching all your videos outside of the ones for the class. Oh, thanks, Quinn. I appreciate that. And that's what I want to do. So Quinn, you'll notice, well, you haven't had me because when I teach my classes in person, all the examples, everything's set up just for student perspective. But when I do the Professor Walter stuff, I try to bring it back a bit, like be for like more professional setting. And so it is a very different kind of vibe. Like I was kind of thinking about that because originally, Quinn, we were supposed to have like the online version of the class and the face-to-face class. And so I was like, I mean, I could really see how it is different, but it's all online now, so we don't have that. But it is interesting how it can be such a different kind of thing. But Quinn, I'm really glad I can help out. Don't forget, $395, you can take a summer class with me on social media marketing, open to all students. So let's see. Mark Finley, I've been teaching in person 2 days a week this month. It's nice to see things returning to normal here in Texas. Yeah, my oldest son actually this week went back to 4 days of class, in-person class, and he is really pumped. I'm super jealous. I teach the massive, huge classes, so I don't know if I'll have a classroom in the fall or if I'm going to be online. I hope I get some time with students because they're the reason why I love this job. Like I just love teaching, and it's because the students are there. I saw one of my old students today where I had dinner with my family, and she's like, her name was Paige. She's like, you probably don't remember me. I'm like, you advertise a student? Yeah. She's like, yeah. And she was super nice. She's like, yeah, you might not remember this. She's like, and I'll be okay if you don't, because I know you have like 1,000 students a semester or whatever. I'm like, it's okay. And she's like, yeah, I got Walter's World stickers for you because my boyfriend was a fan. I'm like, oh, cool. And so we talked for a while and stuff. It was really, really nice. But it's like, I don't get that. We're online. That's why I love having like Quinn on here. So it's like a student. I at least have some kind of like connection. So it's nice. So let's see. Let the tunes flow. When is the first place you plan on traveling after lockdown is over? So we've actually been traveling not the whole time. So starting like July last year, we started traveling the U.S. because I mean, there's a few places we go international, but I didn't feel comfortable taking the kids abroad yet. We actually were looking to we're probably going to go to Mexico soon, probably Costa Rica and Caribbean stuff. But we've done 2 trips to the Southeast U.S. One was to Georgia, one was to Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, North Carolina, West Virginia. That was actually cool. We just got back from that yesterday. It was a fun trip. And then, or 2 days ago. Well, whatever. We just got back. Like I had to trim my beard because it had gotten so bushy from the trip. We did that. We did a trip out to like Idaho, Montana. Dude, Idaho, totally hidden gem of the U.S. Idaho is gorgeous, super nice people, good food, and nobody's there. It is freaking amazing. Go. We did that trip, and then we did a Illinois, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Missouri trip. Did that, and then we've got a trip out. If New England totally opens up, we're going to go there this summer and do that. Otherwise, we're going to go like from Illinois to the West Coast and do a bunch of stuff there. So there is that. So yeah, thanks for the question. James Cook, you adventurer. I'm not as cool as you, James Cook. I did not get around the world like you did. Does Walter use Kahoot, Polyeve, Quizlet, Socrative, Jamboard in his classes? I've used some of those before, but I don't use them anymore just because how things have worked out. And for me, with the pandemic, I have so many students. They're all over the world, and they've got so many things going on. Like I have students that are supporting their family. I got students that I had one, she was like, Mark, thank you for having your class asynchronous when I can watch it whenever, because she has one computer that she got from our university, and she has 8 siblings, and they're all online at home. She's like, I study at 2 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the morning because my brothers and sisters need the computer. I'm like, damn, like that kind of stuff gives you goosebumps, you're like. And so for me, I'm like, look, I do my YouTube videos and then I do quizzes, and we have a learning management system at school, which sucks, but I use that. And I like, look, quizzes are open Monday through Friday because you never know. Some people work their asses off because school isn't cheap, and so I have that, and the exams have to be in the exams are, but I try to give a nice window for them to do it. But yeah, and the thing is, for parents that want to help their kids learn, some of these Kahoot, Quizlet, and stuff like that can be super helpful for getting students to kind of learn. If you don't want to sit there with the flashcards on, 2 times 2 is 4, they can really help you out. So that's nice. Quinn, especially as an engineering student, networking can be one of the most difficult aspects to grasp. I'm excited to put my business minor to use after college. Oh yeah, Quinn. Man, engineering, because I know Illinois, one of the top engineering schools in the world, not just in the world. And that's one of those things is being able to talk to people I mean, seriously, like by doing the business minor, you did the best thing for yourself. Your engineering degree, you will be a great engineer. But by having that business stuff on top of it, now you get to be the head engineer. You get to be the one in charge, and that takes your salary to insanity levels. So that's great. I'm glad we can help out. I'm so glad to hear that, Quinn. That's awesome. Let's see. Yeah, oh yeah, we got all kinds of stuff. And actually, like I was saying, so May and June, we're gonna be doing a bunch of USA stuff. So you're gonna see a lot like LA, Texas stuff. Have got for the rest of this month, I've all like in random Europe and South America stuff. But once we get May 1st, I think we're starting off with like the don'ts of no, the shocks of Louisiana, and we got like the don'ts of Mississippi and the shocks of Texas and all kinds of fun stuff coming. And they're all in good spirit, of course. Trini asks, Mark, you've been fully vaccinated. Yes, I had my second shot 2 weeks ago. So technically I still have like, I think I know like 6 days before I have my 3 weeks past that. So yeah, I've got it. Mark, do you think most networking events will likely ask for people's COVID vaccine cards and to be fully vaccinated? You know, I'm not sure how it's going to work because what you're going to see is some states are requiring it. Some states are saying, no, you can't require people to have it. I think that the whole vaccine passport kind of stuff, I think that's going to happen just for people, for the peace of mind, for people to travel, they're not worried, and to give countries a way to like give a, well, we want tourists to come and spend their money. We can say, have a proof of your vaccination so you can come. I can see those things coming, and people get really upset about it. But I mean, I've been traveling the world for 30 some years now. And, you know, I've had this yellow booklet I have from the WHO and the CDC for international vaccinations that I've been taking with me. I had to use it when I was in Brazil. I had to use it in Tanzania. I had to use it in Rwanda and some other places. And I'm like, well, I've already collected all my stuff. I mean, I used to teach in Portugal. And for me to teach in Portugal, I had to prove I had a tetanus shot. My yellow vaccination sheet. Look, got tetanus, 6 years ago. Still good. So there is that. But I think for the events, like there was one sports stadium that said they'll allow fans, but you have to be vaccinated. So there will be things like that. But I mean, it's such a touchy topic that just the fact I'm talking about this now means this video will never get shown on YouTube. So it's all kinds of stuff. But people have to make their own decision. I got mine. Yeah. So I'm fine. I didn't grow any extra things. Maybe I got fatter, or it could be the fact that I just was in the South for 2 weeks and the food there is fantastic. So Ronnie Dove, hi Mark, so you're online. So I figured I'd listen. Thanks, buddy. Hey Ronnie, if you have any questions, we were talking about networking before, but we're talking about YouTube and other business stuff. We're like at the end of our Q&A time. So any Q&A, any questions are always appreciated. If you want to give a thumbs up, that's also appreciated as well. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you subscribe. Hopefully one day we can get one of those 100,000 view things for Professor Walters. We're only at 10,000 now, so it's going to be some time. But I have some ideas to get it going with some more fun business type talks. So we'll get there eventually. It'll just take some time, but that's a goal. I think when you look at your goals, I talk about making it smart, specific, measurable. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Specific, I want 100,000 subs. Measurable, 100,000 is easy. Realistic, yeah, it's realistic. I could get there eventually, but attainable, it's going to take some time because realistically, it's going to take me, 3 or 4 years to get up there. And timely, you got to think about different stuff you got to do. Night, Henry. Hope you have a good night, buddy. You're very welcome. Let the tunes flow. Just wanted to say thanks for all you do, of all your amazing videos. Thanks. I appreciate that. So I think I want to wrap it up for the night. We've been on for about an hour and a half. I thank everybody for being on. I hope we can answer your questions. I also hope it helped you learn a bit more about marketing or networking because it is something you're going to have to do. It is part of life. And if you think you can go around not meeting people, you're going to have a very lonely time. And so let's try to be nice to each other and be wonderful for each other and go and meet each other and have fun and everything. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night. I appreciate y'all being here for me and with me. Night, Mark. Night, Let the Tunes Flow. Henry, Ronnie, Trini. I wish y'all the best and all the rest of you that are still here. Stay out of trouble. Be good. Night, Quinn. Be good, buddy. And I will say Au revoir from here in my office. Bye.